welcome you to Blackjack Cooking, where today we're going to be making Gameday Chili. A couple of things we're going to be using today. We're going to be using chorizo, a cut of brisket. Actually, we'll be throwing a little bit of beer in there, and a few other seasonings, garlic powder, cumin, and some homegrown jalapenos. So, hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you get something out. So what we're going to go ahead and start with first, we're going to start prepping our vegetables. We're going to start with the onion first. Basically what you want to do, you want to cut the bloom end off. See, straight. And then take it, flip it, root end, cut it in half. I like to keep a trash can beside me. That way as I'm peeling and clearing out vegetables, I can just drop whatever I need to in the trash can. What you want to do, you want to slice it fairly fine, fairly thin. And then you want to flip it on a quarter. And then you want to run real thin. I've got kids that don't necessarily like onion. So when you cut it thin like that, you can saute it down, it softens it up. And a lot of times it'll bring the flavor and they never know it's there. So we're going to finish this up real quick. And then one of my favorite tools in the kitchen that I like to have is a board scraper. So while we got that, we're going to go ahead and kick this on, get this pot heating up. Good cast iron Dutch oven right here. So one of the things we're going to be softening the vegetables up in is actually we're going to be using some bacon grease. See, we got the old school. We don't throw away grease in this house. We fry bacon or sausage or beef tallow or anything. It goes right here. Some of the best tasting grease you can have. I'll find a place to put that. We'll set that right there in the clean sink. So basically I'll get about a teaspoon of that, throw it in there. Let that start melting down. Throw the lid back on. Put that right there. So as that's heating up, what we'll do is we will get our onions and we'll throw them right there on top of that. We're going to have this heat up medium high. We want that grease to melt pretty good. One of my favorite smells in the world is bacon grease and onions. So we'll let that get going while that's speeding up. I'll go ahead and start with our bell pepper. The way I like to do bell peppers, I don't know if this is right or not, but I like to take the core and cut the core out just like that. Now watch your hands, because if that knife slips, there we go. Now once you get that core, you take that, throw that whole core in the trash can just like that. Knock as many seeds as you can out. Split it in half. And then you can just pull the white part out. You can already hear that onion starting to sizzle, starting to cook. There we go. Got that right there. So you still got some seeds in there, but we'll knock those out. There we go. And again, just like the onions, we're going to cut them up thin. That's it. I don't know if this is the right way, but it works. Makes it happen. Go. I'm going to chop it. All right. Got our bell pepper chopped up, our onion chopped up real good right there. And then we take this, throw it over there. Get a good cook down there. So once we got that in there, what we want to do is take our wooden spoon, mix it around, get these cooked down real good. We'll go ahead and turn that heat down just a little bit. It's cooking a little faster than what I like. So, while this is cooking down, what we'll do, we'll go ahead and knock that heat down just a little bit. There we go. While that's cooking down, we'll turn our attention to the meat. So, I'm going to move the chorizo over. Chorizo is going to be easy. I don't really have to process it too much. Go ahead and lube up the cook a little bit. So, what we have here is a piece of brisket. Let me rinse this off real quick. Go ahead and get that off from the vegetables. Wipe it down, dry it off real good. There we go. So what we have here is a little piece of brisket. I was looking for chuck roast, but this was actually cheaper. Chuck roast was about $17. This little piece of brisket was about $10. So what we're going to do, we're going to find the grain. And it looks like it's going that way. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and slice this down. And the brisket's a tough cut of meat. So you got to make sure, the way we're cooking it, it's going to braise in a good liquid for a long time. And what that'll do is that'll break up the muscle fibers and it'll make it a lot more tender. A lot of people use ground beef or other types of beef or whatever in their chili. Me personally, I like whole cuts. I like to take a bite and then have that whole flavor of beef there. So, we'll finish processing this up real quick. Alright, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to check our onions. Stuff real quick. Onions and peppers are looking good. Starting to get a little caramelization on the peppers. There we go. Yep. Onions are starting to get a little translucent, which is what we're looking for. So what we will do is we'll kind of push that off to the side right there. Kick that heat up a little bit. And then what we're going to do, we're going to drop this brisket down right on top of it. Just like that. There we go. And I'm going to mix that in really good. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to brown this meat off with the vegetables. There we go. Got that going real good. So while we're browning that meat off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of salt and I'm going to drop it in there, a little kosher salt. And what that'll do, that'll help cook down the vegetables, and also it'll help brown off that meat. Usually it takes me a couple hours to cook a pot of chili. So we get that cooking, browning off. Leave that alone for a little bit. So while that's going, we'll go ahead and pop open our chorizo. Chorizo is probably one of my most favorite sausages. It's a Mexican sausage. It's a seasoned pork sausage. And with this, all you gotta do is cut that end off. We'll do it right over here since that cutting board's already dirty. And we'll drop it right down in here. And this chorizo and this chili is just going to give it a little bit of extra flavor. And then the pork will actually, so get off there. Drop that one down. There we go. So we're going to break that chorizo down. Let's go ahead and crank that heat up a little bit. Get that chorizo cooking. There we go, get that going. So while that's going like that, we're going to go ahead and hit it with some of our seasonings. I don't measure my seasoning. I just put it in there until I think it's enough in there. So what we're going to start off with is everybody's main, the garlic powder. See, I don't even use a little shaker hand. We'll drop some garlic powder in there. A little heavy-handed on that, but I like garlic. A little bit of onion powder. Drop it in, and I like to do this when my meat is cooking. That way my meat gets a lot of that flavor in. One of the most important, chili powder is essentially just dried and ground chili peppers. Smoked paprika. I love the smell of that stuff. I love cooking with it. There we go. Give it a little bit of that. So we're going to drop a little bit more salt in there, just because I like it. A little bit of black pepper. A couple of generous black pepper grinds. There we go. And then ground cumin. If you don't use cumin in chili, basically you're just making beef stew with chili powder. Cumin is what gives it that flavor. Take a look at the pot and see we're starting to get that good chili color. There we go. There we go. Now we just let that cook down a good bit. I love my wooden spoon. My grandma used one for years. Yeah, we're starting to get that sizzle down in the bottom. So now we just let that kind of go for a minute. So, and then the next thing up, that's starting to smell really, really, really good. So, kind of off camera, I forgot. I forgot to pick up beef broth, but I do have some beef bouillon and water here. Essentially the same thing. And then the next thing up, what we're going to do is we're going to start adding our liquids. And what that'll do is that'll help the seasonings get through the meat. First thing, we're going to start off with a good beer. This is Yingling. I prefer to have a good amber beer when I'm making my chili. A heavier beer. Like the smell of it. I mean, I guess you could use a lager or a lighter beer if you wanted to. This is just what I have on hand. It's game day. This is what I've been drinking today. So now that we've got that, we'll go ahead and pour that in. There we go. Get a nice little spin on it. There we go. Good beer. Now what we want to do, we want to cook that beer down a little bit. Let that beer get in there real nice. See it bubbling real good. And then we'll go ahead and add our beef broth, or actually beef bouillon. Get that in there. There we go. And when I'm cooking, I like to have an empty sink. There we go. Get that stirred up real good. There we go. We're gonna let it come to a boil. Go ahead and, so a lot of people might think this is blasphemous when it comes to chili. I really don't care. I like to put Rotel in my chili. Whatever sounds good in chili. So to all the Texas people, we've got beans going in the chili. And I like to use the juice of the can. Sometimes I'll use dry beans, and I'll cook them down and do everything I need to do. So here we go, got that there. Oh, and one thing I did forget to put in it. Oregano. Oregano is, like I said before, I don't measure anything, so that can go away. There we go. Let's drop a little oregano in here. There we go. Get some herb going on. Alrighty. Now, stir that up real good. And then, so from this point on, it's really just checking it, tasting it, watching it cook down. If you need to add liquid to it, you do. And really, at this point, all you're doing, you're cooking down until the meat is tender. You know, you may have to add some more cumin, maybe some more garlic powder, some more salt, whatever. But from this point on, it's basically just riding it out. It's you know, tending to it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and lid it up, and I'm gonna drop this heat down just a little bit, and we're gonna lid it up, and we're gonna let her go. I will see y'all in just a little bit. Okay, so the chili's been going for about 2 hours now. We're gonna go ahead and check on it real quick. See, it's steaming real good. Gravy's starting to kind of come together. Meat's starting to loosen up and tenderize. Really, really great flavor. I wish you guys could smell this. So that's still got about 20, maybe 30 minutes left. So while that's going, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and start some cornbread. So pretty simple cornbread, 4 ingredients and a skillet. That's all it takes. So we have cornmeal, buttermilk, oil, eggs. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and heat up our skillet. There we go. So basically, I like to fry my cornbread a little bit before it goes into the oven. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that right there, bring this over here. There we go. That way my wife will fuss at me if I get grease all over her cabinet. So I'm putting that on a plate. So we're going to get some of this bacon grease here. And we're going to throw it right here in this skillet. Probably, maybe 1/4 cup. That much, however much that is, I really don't know. But put the lid back on it. We'll go ahead and put this in the sink. And then, so we'll put this out of our way. And then, so what we're going to do is we're just going to let this melt. And then once it gets all melted down, there we go. So just let that, and while that's going and heating up, we'll go ahead and mix up our cornbread. So what we have here, we have 2 cups of cornmeal. And this is yellow self-rising cornmeal right here. Get that in there. We have 2 eggs. So 1 egg, 2 eggs. Then we have 1/8 of a cup of cooking oil or vegetable oil right there. And then 1 3/4 cups of buttermilk. You can use regular milk, buttermilk, whichever one you like. I personally like buttermilk. And then, so we're going to go ahead and start mixing this up. And it's okay if it's got a few lumps in it or whatnot. You just want to make sure you get it mixed up real good. And then before I forget, we're going to throw a little bit of salt in it. So we'll mix this up, and once we get to about this consistency where it just kind of falls off the whisk. So now we're just going to leave this alone for a second. So while that's resting, while that's sitting, our grease is done come up to temperature. We're going to get a paper towel. Now be very careful when you do this. So you hear the grease popping. What we're going to do is we're going to take this paper towel, and then we're going to wipe the inside of this skillet. And what that's going to do, I want to make sure we get a good coating all the way around. What that's going to do is that's going to make sure that our cornbread doesn't stick when it's done, when we get ready to turn it out onto the pan. So we got that going. One of the things we want to do, so now we'll grab our batter. We'll just take our whisk, just like this, get a little bit on the end, and drop it in there. Alright, so it's still coming to temperature a little bit. But you see it's starting to bubble, so that's what we're looking for. So what we'll do, we're going to throw this in the sink. We'll grab us out a spatula. I personally like silicone spatula. It gets around the corners. And then we're going to pour this out into the skillet. There we go. Let that come out a good bit. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but we've already preheated our oven to 400 degrees. There we go. Get the rest of that in there. There we go. So, and what we're going to do, we're going to let that fry off real quick. Maybe a few seconds. That's why you want to make sure you got a hot skillet. So once that fries off, you're going to take it. You go ahead and turn the heat off here. And then you're going to drop it into the oven. There we go. Now that's going to go like that for probably about 25 or 30 minutes. And then by the time that's done, the chili should be done and we should be ready to serve. Alright, so we're about 30 minutes later. Cornbread should be just about ready. I'm going to check it real quick just to make sure. Let's stick the knife in. Knife comes out clean. That means cornbread should be done in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out. That pan's a little bit hot. Ooh, that looks good. It smells good too. So I'm going to try to do this in one turn and we're going to see what happens. Beautiful. So cornbread is done. I'm going to let that sit right there. Set this over here on the stove. Chili's just about done. Let's go ahead and take one more look at it. Yeah, starting to thicken up, starting to look good. Good stuff. All right, so looks like we're just about done. I have one more touch that I like to do to my cornbread. I like to put butter on top of my cornbread. Basically what I did, I just cut a quarter of a stick of butter and I'm just going to take it and rub it around the top. Let it sit there, melt into it real good. It's still hot. And then, so just let that melt in. We'll slice this cornbread. Go ahead and pull a little bit longer knife out. Oh yeah, it's slicing real nice and good. And I usually cut it into about 8 pieces. There we go. All right, so there's the cornbread is done. Looks like the chili is about done, so we're going to turn that off real quick. I'll go ahead and grab a bowl out. And I'll go ahead and pull out a few garnishes that I like. I like a little bit of, I like to put some green onion, some shredded cheese on mine. And then, where did it go? And the sour cream. Can't really have chili without sour cream. So, we'll go ahead and make up a bowl real quick. That smells good. That smells real good. So we'll go ahead and set this off to the side. Get us a ladle. Oh yeah. A couple scoops of this chili with the brisket and the chorizo in it. There we go. Leave that right there. And then what we'll do, layer it with some cheese. Maybe a little bit more. A little bit more. I want to do a little bit more, but I'm not gonna. And we'll get a little scoop of sour cream on it. There we go. Scoop of sour cream. And then a few chopped green onions to garnish off the top. A piece of cornbread. And there you go. So, Gameday Chili with cornbread, about as good as you can get it. If you like what you saw, please like, share, subscribe, comment. Hope y'all enjoy it. If you try the recipe and you like it, let me know. Thank you and have a great night.